Good morning. Hello. My name is Sheila Barrett Carroll, and I'm a graphic designer with the North Carolina Historical Research and Publications Office with the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. I am thrilled to have Clint Exum and Josh Berkov with the North Carolina Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped. I am going to be giving them their bios, and then afterwards we're going to watch a 5-minute video about the library for the blind and physically handicapped, and then I'll be asking them questions. At any time after the video, if you would like to enter a question in our chat, please feel free to do so. We welcome your questions, and Josh and Clint would love to spend some time answering your questions. So with that, let me talk about Josh Berkov is a librarian by day and a writer by night. He has a BA in philosophy from Brown University and MSLS from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and an MBA from East Carolina University. Josh currently works as a collections management librarian at the North Carolina Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped. Josh is an avid reader and enjoys exploring new authors and genres on a regular basis. Nothing gives Josh greater pleasure than helping someone find a good book to read. Now, Clint is an outreach specialist and also wears many additional hats at the Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped. Clint has been working there for the past 4 years. He travels to different institutions in North Carolina and forms communities of the Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped services. Clint creates presentations, serves and speaks at conferences and meetings, is a coordinator for volunteers, assists with the production of talking books, and also manages the library's social media pages. And I have the pleasure of working with both of them for our publications. And I'm thrilled that both of you are here. Thank you for your time. So I would love to be able to show you the video. And again, after the video or at any time, please, if you have questions, put them in the chat and we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you. And we look forward to showing you the video.
The North Carolina Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped is the free public library for those who can't read regular print, either through a visual or physical disability. We serve over 12,000 people across North Carolina. How does one become a patron of the library? Eligible people complete an application and mail it to the library. Eligible people are those who cannot read regular books due to a visual disability or a physical disability. If you are qualified, the application can be downloaded from our website. Once a patron has signed up for the service, the admissions process begins. The Patron Processing Unit enters new patrons' information into our computer system and sends welcome packets to those new patrons. One of 5 reader advisors will call new patrons to help them set up their library service. Patrons can get books in genres they like and elect to have them chosen by computer and automatically sent through the mail. Patrons select the type of books and the number they want to be sent to them each month.
Library for the Blind, this is Dick. Can I help you?
Patrons can also talk with reader advisors to help them with book selection. Reader advisors also answer other questions or help with problems patrons have with equipment and other things. All patrons receive a digital audiobook player at no charge when they sign up for library services.
Hansel and Gretel, retold and illustrated by James Marshall.
The machine unit ships out these digital audiobook players to patrons. They also repair faulty book players at no charge. The circulation unit is responsible for sending the books to the patrons. They receive the request for the patrons' books and send Braille, large type, and audiobooks to patrons. The books are sent free matter for the blind to the patrons who receive the books through the mail. Patrons send books back, free matter for the blind, so there is no postage charge. This unit sends and receives over 2,000 items every day. In fact, the library gets so much mail that we have our own zip code. Our collection includes more than 21,000 Braille books, over 29,000 digital audiobooks, and 22,000 large type books. We also offer our patrons selections of 70 magazines and more than 580 descriptive videos.
The Mo stops in the middle of the corridor. The tall guard picks up a cookie from the desk behind them.
Descriptive videos provide narration to describe the action when there is no dialogue. In addition to the physical digital audiobooks, the library offers BARD, the Braille Audio Recording Download Service. Over 85,000 audiobooks are available for download. The books can be downloaded on a USB thumb drive to play in the digital book player. They can also be downloaded to iPhones, iPads, iPods, and Android phones. The library offers several programs to our patrons. We have a patron book club. We offer a summer reading program to both our juvenile and adult patrons. This program provides prizes to patrons who read a certain number of books and prizes to the top readers. Other programs that the library has done for patrons include Tactile Art Tours at the North Carolina Museum of Art and tactile programs done by the North Carolina Symphony. We have programs with guest speakers, such as Lex Gillette, a Paralympics gold medalist, and Renee Chu, reporter with WRAL News. We have had a cooking program where Christine Ha, first blind winner of the Master Chef contest, was Skyped in to answer audience questions, as well as showing cooking demonstrations by patrons who won a recipe contest. We've interviewed two of our patrons to discover what the library means to them.
Technology has changed, and the library has kept up with that technology and offering different formats of books so that we have access to that material that we wouldn't have access to otherwise.
We have access to free books anytime we want. Any kind of books. If we have any request, they're always willing to listen out. And that means a lot to me. They're always willing to help out, and very, very nice, very kind. The Library for the Blind means a lot to me.
If you or someone you know qualifies for service from the North Carolina Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped, reach out to us by mail, phone, or email. We offer accessible books and magazines to people who thought their disability would keep them from reading. We can help. After all, reading.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. And my name is Sheila Barrett Carroll, and I am a graphic designer with the North Carolina Historical Research and Publications Office. And we have Josh Berkov and Clint Exum, and they are with the North Carolina Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped. If you have any questions, we would love to answer them. Please feel free to type them in the chat. I'm going to be asking Clint and Josh some questions. Look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. So one of the questions that I had after watching the video was, Clint, when was the LBPH? And if I say LBPH, I mean the Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped. That's an acronym. So Clint, when was LBPH founded?
LBPH was founded in September of 1958, or that's when we started serving people. And we've been in our current building since, I believe, 1978. We used to be in downtown Raleigh.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And let's say that I'm a patron and I am ready to receive material. Now, according to the video, it says that you have to fill out an application. So if I'm curious, can you fill out that application online, or is it a print version that you have to fill out?
So the it is a you do have to fill out the print version. So it has to be signed by a certifying official in order for us to, for it to go through. And a certifying authority could be a doctor of medicine, optometrist, any sort of medical professional, caseworker. There's a list of people that could actually approve your application. And I believe during these times we've thought about making it, or allowing people to send in applications digitally. Josh, could you follow up with that?
Actually, the National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled, of which we are a part, has just announced that they are allowing us to accept electronic applications without an actual signature from a certifying authority, but the certifying authority's information still has to be filled out on the application so that we can, do spot checks to make sure that there's no fraudulent activity going on. So, and this is all due to the pandemic. So applicants can now fill out the application in a fillable PDF format or in a Word format, and then send it to their certifying authority, whether it is a doctor or a social worker or an activities director at a nursing home, or certain teachers, or even public librarians. And then those certifying authorities can finish filling out the form with their information, and there's a little checkbox on the application where they just have to literally check it, saying that they are, who they say they are. And then that electronic application can be submitted to us via email or fax.
Okay. So again, I'm the patron, and I filled out the application. I've had the appropriate signatures in place, and I send it to you. And I'm very eager as a new patron to be receiving publications. So how long as a new patron would it take for me to begin material?
So that could take about a week. So once we get the application, it's going to go through patron processing. And once they verify it, one of our reader advisors may reach out to you to see what your reading preferences are if you hadn't checked it out before on the application. We'll also send out a patron pack. So you'll get our catalog, a talking book player, and a handbook about our service. Once they are signed up for service, they can start receiving our books. Our new patrons are going to be put on our books on demand service, where before we had sent new patrons, I think at most 3 books at a time on separate cartridges. Now we're able to send them. We're starting new patrons off on 8 books on a single cartridge.
Oh, awesome.
Josh, do you have anything to add?
So new patrons, 8 books on a single cartridge and 3 cartridges. So it's a total of 24 books. Existing patrons, under the old system, could have a maximum of 25 books at a time. With this new system, we can even up the number of titles per cartridge. So if a patron wants 20 books per cartridge and we allow them a maximum of 3 cartridges, that's 60 books that they could have at any given time. The only other thing I would add is that during the pandemic, our reader advisors are not making phone calls to new patrons to set up their preferences. So we are setting new patrons up, and we are sending them the traditional welcome packet along with a specific letter to help them get started with us.
Okay. And so there is no age range. It's completely open from 6 months old until 108 right?
We have, yeah, we have patrons that definitely are over 100, and yes, if they qualify to be a patron, no matter what age, we will accept them.
Okay, that's wonderful. So, you, in addition to publications, you also have movies as well. Is that correct?
Right. So we do have descriptive videos. So that is the only, all of our services free except for that. That is a one-time fee of $20. Then patrons will have their access to our digital descriptive audio collection. So right now, I believe we have 800 movies in our collection. It's a collection of mostly DVDs and some VHS. We have things ranging from the Andy Griffith Show to some of the new Marvel movies that came out. So we have a huge collection. We send out the catalog, or we update every 6 months, Josh?
We update the catalog probably yearly, but we do add to the collection every 6 months, and we send out letters to all of our patrons who are subscribed for this particular service, a list of the newly added titles.
Okay.
Right.
Also, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that for the movies, normally our physical items have a loan period of 6 weeks. With the movies, they have a loan period of 2 weeks.
Okay.
Also, unlike with our books, patrons can only have one movie out at a time. And just as a sort of brief explanation, if you have never heard of descriptive video or descriptive audio service, basically there's a narrator in the background while the movie is playing that describes the physical scenes or the physical movements of characters or the physical appearance of characters. So if you think about that scene from The Sound of Music where Maria von Trapp is kind of on top of the hill and she's singing that song about how the hills are alive with the sound of music, there will be, and before she actually starts singing, there will be a narrator talking about the grass she's standing on, maybe the clouds in the sky, and so forth.
Okay. That is very helpful information. So can you describe or provide a demonstration for the audiobook player?
Yes, I have one with me. So whenever a patron signs up for our service, they will receive one of these. Mm-hmm. This is the digital talking book machine. We have, as you can see, it's got the power button, the play stop button, rewind, fast forward and rewind, volumes. You can control the speed so it can play slower or faster. You can change the tone to make it lower pitch or higher pitch. You have the menu button right here, which will help you navigate the book. So if you want to navigate by chapters, or if the book's divided into parts, you can change the way you are able to navigate it. It also has a sleep button. It does 15-minute increments up to an hour. And on the side here, we have a audio jack where you can plug in headphones or speaker. Honestly, you probably won't need a speaker because this thing gets really loud. And it also has a USB port on the side. So if you're able to, download books from Bard or Noble, which is our local version of Bard, which is Braille and audio reading download. You can just download the books to a flash drive and you'll be able to plug it in on the side and begin listening to your books. And so we'll send out a cartridge to our patrons. This is one of the books on demand cartridge where you put multiple books on one cartridge and you just slide it into the front of the machine. You turn it on.
Player on. Press any button to learn about its function. 5. Books.
Between the Creeks, My Saponi Adventures.
Current position.
A summary of the book tells the stories of growing up in the country in the late 1920s and 30s.
So you can also
In
add a
doing
bookmark.
So, bookmark inserted.
He has accomplished much more than that. His collection of tales about growing up between the creeks.
You can also slow it down if you have a hard time understanding, or if you're in a rush, you can also speed it up.
Continuity of values across generations. Values passed down from parents to children to grandchildren.
So it's a great, fantastic machine. It's got a cord on the back so you can recharge it. When the battery is full, the battery life is over 29 hours, and it will let you know if the battery is low. Sometimes the battery does give out, and at that point you can just send it back to the library and we'll replace it for you.
Okay.
Josh, did you have anything to add about the talking book player?
Player off.
I don't think so. The only other thing I do want to mention is that the book that Clint was playing is actually a memoir written by Governor Cooper's father.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, so let me ask you, Clint, you were mentioning, you mentioned Bard. And
Right.
can you tell people about Bard? Well, you briefly mentioned it, but then can you also tell them that it's a mobile app as well for Droid and iOS?
Yes, so BARD stands for Braille and Audio Reading Download. You are able to go to your app store, and you will just look for BARD. You should be with the Library of Congress, and you will see an icon that it's kind of hard to see, but you'll see an icon that has the BARD logo up there. From there, you can browse the National Library Services catalog and see what kind of books they have for download, books or magazines they have for download. Let's see, they have over 100,000 books. In addition to the mobile app, as I was saying, you can use their website and download it to a flash drive and play it off of your talking book player. What else?
So there was another thing, and I'm not clear on this. Okay, so there's Bard, and then you can download Bard from your Droid or your iOS devices.
Right.
And then there's Noble. Can you tell me about Noble?
Right. So there's one thing else I want to mention about Bard. Whenever you sign up for service, you also have to sign up. You have to sign up for Bard separately. So once you become a patron, then you can sign up for Bard. You'll be given a username and password, or you'll be given a temporary password, and you'll log in with your chosen email address. And once you log in on the website, then you can create your own password, and then you can download the app and log into the app. Now, Noble is what stands for North Carolina Bard Local. Those are books that we record at our library. We have 2 recording studios, and books are recorded by our volunteers. We record North Carolina interest books and magazines. So we record magazines such as Our State, Carolina Country, Wildlife in North Carolina, the North Carolina Historical Review. You don't have to log in to download those books, but you do need a digital talking book machine or a device that's been approved by NLS to read our encrypted media. So, and for that, you would just go to our website and look for the reading section and go to Noble. And we actually do post whenever we have new additions to Noble, or we have a section on our website called Notable on Noble, so you can see our entire collection there.
Okay.
Josh, do you have anything to add to that?
I would just say that most of the books that we record on site now are both on Bard and on Noble. Noble contains our local magazines that we record, and Bard does not have those. Noble also has some older recordings that we've done before the BARD program really got underway.
Okay. Okay. So another thing, I was doing research, I found that there is a refreshable, this blew my mind, refreshable Braille display keyboard, and you can use it as a companion to the BARD app. I thought that was awesome. And Josh, you mentioned the pilot program for that.
Yeah. So,
or Josh and Clint, can you tell me about that? I was so excited to hear about that.
So we have here in North Carolina a pilot program where with using grant money, we've purchased about 40 or so refreshable Braille displays, 14 cell Braille displays, meaning the 14 Braille characters can be on the display at any given time. And we've sent, I think, over 25 of them out to patrons to test out. And you're probably wondering, well, how do you read Braille on an electronic display? Well, in order to make this work, you've got to, for our patrons, a patron has to have a BARD account, and they can download electronic Braille files from the BARD app, or possibly even stream them. Actually, you can stream them. You don't even need to download them. You can stream them from BARD. Well, you have to download them to your BARD mobile device, and then you can stream them from your BARD mobile device to one of these refreshable Braille displays. And it's these here. These are little pins that move up and down to create the Braille letters and characters. And it's a refreshable display, meaning that it will sort of stream from one end to the other as a sort of continuous, in continuous motion. So you're literally, you're literally reading from, well, I guess my camera is not mirrored, but from left to right. And then as you keep going, the pins will move up and down to refresh the display with the next set of characters. You can use, you can also use this device as a note taker. These keys down here represent the different dots in a Braille cell, which contains either 6 or 8 dots, depending on how you sort of think about it. You can use it to read not only our books, but the magazines that are also available through BARD Mobile. I'm trying to think what else you can do with this stuff. It's a pretty versatile device. The National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled is also doing a pilot project, or is about to, with a couple of states, other state libraries for the blind. And the device that they're using looks a little different than this one. But eventually, and this is like years down the road, the National Library Service is going to stop producing Braille, like physical, you can touch kind of Braille altogether. And all of our Braille readers will get such a refreshable Braille device and will be able to download their own Braille books to it. For those patrons who don't have that capability to download the books themselves, we will be able to send out electronic Braille books on probably on SD cards in the mail to patrons, and they can then stick the SD cards into their refreshable Braille displays and read the books.
Wow. So how long is this pilot program? It's been taking place, would be going on?
We're kind of gonna, excuse me, we're pretty much gonna run ours, I think, until the National Library Service sort of steps in and starts providing devices to our patrons directly.
Okay, so that's the hope, is that all patrons in the future will be receiving one of these if they request it.
Well, yeah, anyone who wants to read our Braille collection will then need to request one of these players.
But that's down the road a bit.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to get back to Clint because you did mention the audio books and the recordings, and I have to say that this is a gratuitous plug for the Historical Research and Publications Office, but the North Carolina Historical Review is recorded.
Right.
My NC from A to Z, that is a children's book by Michelle Lanier and illustrated by Dare Coulter. That has been recorded by Michelle Lanier, and it sounds beautiful. Thank you, Clint and
Oh, yeah, no
team.
problem.
Uh,
It was fun.
yeah, and it sounds beautiful. She did well, and you can hear the emotion in her voice. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't think Michelle could ever do a bad job on anything, but she was wonderful. And Dr. Lee Williams, We Who Believe in Freedom, The Life and Times of Ella Baker, she is recording her book. And there are many, many others that our department has been recorded with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think it's great that we're able to make these publications accessible.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So I'm looking at the chat, and I think everybody is listening very intently. And I am fresh out of questions. Did you want to take some time and talk about anything else? Did you want to mention any other services? So to wrap things up, I'm thinking, okay, I'm a patron, and I can either take the paper form, fill it out, return it to you. Representative from LBPH will contact me, and then we'll get accounts set up. Is that correct? And from the time the paperwork is received by you till the time I start receiving, it will be 2 weeks, maybe?
Sounds about right.
Okay.
One thing I would mention in terms of patrons receiving books is that we kind of have three main modes of service, and they can also be combined a bit. But patrons can either request specific books from us. All patrons receive a new catalog every 2 months with the most recent titles that have been added to our digital, audio, and Braille collections. Patrons can also have reader advisors select books for them based on their subject preferences. And then lastly, patrons can also allow our computer or our integrated library system to automatically select books for them based on their preferences or any combination thereof.
Okay. And is that letter, the newsletter, is it electronic or is it print or both?
It is in multiple formats. The newsletter is physical. We also make a PDF version, audio version, and a Braille version.
That is wonderful.
One of the other things I would mention is with our audio collection, one thing that sort of separates us from other, say, public libraries who also have audiobook collections is that because we are exempt from certain copyright laws, once we have an audiobook title in our collection, we can have as many patrons who want to read it go ahead and read it simultaneously as possible. Whereas in contrast, in public libraries, a public library might purchase, say, 5 copies of an audiobook. And so if they have 10 patrons who want to read it, a waiting list has to be created. Well, we have no such waiting lists. So we are allowed sort of unlimited usage of our audio collection by our patrons who are qualified for the service, which is why we require the certifying authority on our application.
Okay. That makes sense. Well, I am clear out of questions. You have been.
Are there any questions from the audience?
Yeah, any questions from the audience? I am not seeing anything on the chat. Okay. Well, thank you for your time. And Clint and Josh, thank you. Thank you for your time. And it's been wonderful talking with you. And I will talk with you tomorrow.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yes.
All right. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us. And we will be back again on Wednesday, November 18th, and we will be talking with Michelle Lanier and Derek Coulter. So thank you for your time and take care.